Jake Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished checking on the last horse in his barn. The thunder outside was getting louder and the rain was hitting the roof hard. He had been a veterinarian for 10 years now, living alone on his small farm in Montana since his wife Emma died 2 years ago. The animals were his only company these days. Lightning lit up the sky through the barn windows. Jake counted the seconds until the thunder came. The storm was getting closer. He decided to check that all the animals were safe before going back to his house. As he walked toward the door, a bright flash filled the entire barn. This wasn't lightning. The light was blue and white, and it lasted much longer than any lightning he had ever seen. Jake ran outside into the rain. In the field behind his barn, something was burning. Orange flames mixed with strange blue sparks shot up into the dark sky. He grabbed a flashlight and ran toward the fire. As he got closer, he could see it wasn't a normal fire. There were pieces of metal scattered everywhere. They looked like no metal he had ever seen before. The pieces were smooth and seemed to glow with their own light. The main part of whatever had crashed was about the size of a small car. It was buried halfway into the ground. The metal was bent and twisted, but Jake could see that it had once been perfectly smooth. Strange symbols were carved into some of the pieces. They looked like writing, but not like any language Jake knew. He heard a sound that made him stop. It was weak, but it sounded like someone crying for help. Jake followed the sound around to the other side of the crashed object. There, trapped under a piece of the strange metal, was a person. At least it looked like a person at first. Jake moved closer with his flashlight. The figure was small and thin. It had long hair that looked silver in the light. But the skin was wrong. It was pale blue like the color of ice. And when Jake looked at the face, he saw that it was not quite human. The features were too delicate, too perfect. The ears were pointed at the tips. The creature was unconscious and breathing very slowly. Jake could see dark stains on its clothes that looked like blood. One arm was bent at a bad angle and there were burns on its face and hands. Whatever this thing was, it was hurt badly and would die if Jake didn't help. Jake had spent his whole life helping injured animals. He never thought twice about helping any creature that was suffering. This was no different. He carefully lifted the piece of metal off the creature. It was much lighter than it looked. The creature was wearing clothes made of the same strange material as the crashed object. They were torn and burned in many places. Very gently, Jake picked up the creature. It was lighter than a human would be, but about the same size as a young woman. He carried it back to his barn, where he had a small medical area set up for treating large animals. He had all the tools and medicine he needed to help injured creatures. Jake laid the creature on the metal table he used for surgery. Under the bright lights, he could see more clearly what he was dealing with. The creature looked female, with delicate features and long silver hair. Her skin was definitely blue, but it seemed to shimmer slightly in the light. Her clothes were made of a material that felt like silk but was much stronger. The injuries were serious. There were burns on her arms and face. Her left arm was broken. There were cuts on her legs that were bleeding slowly. Most worrying was a large burn on her chest. Jake had seen similar injuries in animals that had been struck by lightning. Jake had always been good at staying calm during medical emergencies. He washed his hands and got his medical supplies ready. He started by cleaning the wounds with antiseptic. The creature's blood was red like human blood, but it seemed to glow slightly. As he worked, Jake noticed that her breathing was getting stronger. He set the broken arm and wrapped it in a cast. He cleaned and bandaged all the cuts. The burns were the most difficult to treat. He used the same medicine he would use on a burned horse, hoping it would work. As he spread the healing cream on her skin, he noticed something strange. The smaller cuts were already starting to heal. He could actually see the skin growing back together. Jake set up an IV drip to give her fluids. He had to guess at the right amount since he had never treated anything like this before. He covered her with a warm blanket and set up a small heater nearby. All he could do now was wait and see if she would survive. As he cleaned up his medical tools, Jake wondered what he had gotten himself into. This creature was obviously not from Earth. That meant she had come from somewhere else in space. The crashed object outside was some kind of spaceship. Jake had always believed that there might be life on other planets, but he never thought he would meet it in his own backyard. The creature stirred slightly and made a soft sound. Jake moved closer to the table. Her eyes opened slowly. They were large and violet-colored. unlike any eyes Jake had ever seen. She looked at him with fear and confusion. She tried to sit up, but Jake gently pushed her back down. "Easy," Jake said softly, using the same voice he used with frightened animals. "You're hurt. You need to rest." The creature stared at him for a long moment. She seemed to be trying to understand what he was saying. Then her eyes closed again and she fell back into unconsciousness. Her breathing was steady now, and Jake could see that his treatment was working. Jake pulled a chair up next to the table and sat down. He was not going to leave her alone. Whatever this creature was, wherever she had come from, she was now his responsibility. He had taken an oath as a veterinarian to help all living creatures. That oath didn't say anything about them having to be from Earth. Outside, the storm was starting to pass. The thunder was getting quieter, and the rain was slowing down. But Jake knew that his quiet life was about to change in ways he could never imagine. He had just made first contact with an alien being, and somehow he had become the most important person on Earth. 3 days passed before the alien creature woke up again. Jake had barely left her side during that time. He checked her wounds every few hours and was amazed at how fast she was healing. The cuts on her legs had almost completely closed. Even the burns were looking much better than they should after only 3 days. Jake was changing the bandage on her arm when her violet eyes opened. This time she stayed awake and looked around the barn with curiosity instead of fear. She tried to speak, but the sounds she made were not like any language Jake had heard before. They were musical and soft, almost like singing. The creature sat up slowly and looked at her bandaged arm. She touched the cast gently and then looked at Jake with what seemed like surprise. She pointed to herself and said something that sounded like Zara. Then she pointed at Jake and made a questioning sound. "Jake," he said, pointing to himself. "My name is Jake." Zara tried to repeat his name, but it came out sounding different with her accent. She smiled for the first time, and Jake was surprised at how human the expression looked on her alien face. She reached into a pocket of her strange clothes and pulled out a small device. It was about the size of a phone, but made of the same glowing metal as her spaceship. She pressed something on the device, and suddenly Jake could understand her words. "Thank you," Zara said, her voice now clear in English. "You saved my life. I did not think humans would help someone like me." Jake was shocked to hear her speaking his language. "How are you doing that?" Zara held up the device. "This is a translator. It learns languages by listening. It has been recording your words for 3 days. My people have been watching Earth for a long time. We know some of your languages." "Your people?" Jake asked. "There are more of you?" Zara looked sad. "Yes, but they are very far away. I am alone here." She touched her bandages again. "You fixed my injuries. On my world we call this healing gift. Not all beings have it." Jake pulled up a chair next to the table where Zara was sitting. "I'm a veterinarian. That means I help injured animals. It's my job to heal creatures that are hurt." "Animals?" Zara looked confused. "But I am not an animal. I am Etherian." Jake felt embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. I meant that I help any living creature that needs healing. It doesn't matter what kind of creature it is." Zara stared at him for a long moment. "You would help anyone? Even someone you don't know? Even someone who is not like you?" "Of course," Jake said. "Why wouldn't I? My people taught me that humans are dangerous," Zara said quietly. "They said humans fight wars and hurt each other. They said humans would capture me and study me like a science experiment if they found me." Jake felt sad to hear this. Some humans do bad things, that's true. But most of us are good people. We try to help each other and take care of our families. Zara looked around the barn at all of Jake's medical equipment. "You live alone here?" Jake nodded. "My wife died 2 years ago in an accident. Now it's just me and the animals I take care of." "You had a mate who died?" Zara's voice was full of sympathy. "That is very sad. On my world, when someone loses their mate, the whole community helps them heal." "I had friends who tried to help," Jake said. "But I wanted to be alone. Taking care of injured animals helps me feel better." Zara climbed down from the table carefully. Her legs were still weak, but she could walk. She looked at the pictures on Jake's wall. Most of them showed animals he had helped over the years. There were horses, dogs, cats, and even some wild animals like deer and birds. "You have helped so many creatures," Zara said with wonder. "And you keep pictures to remember them all." "Each one is special," Jake said. "Every life matters." Zara pointed to a picture of Jake with a woman who had blonde hair and a bright smile. Is this your mate who died? That's Emma, Jake said. She loved animals too. She always said that taking care of other living things was the most important work anyone could do. She was wise, Zara said. On my world, we believe the same thing. But we forgot how to help others who are different from us. Over the next few days, Zara told Jake about her people. The Etherians lived on a planet called Ethros, which was many light years away from Earth. They were peaceful people who had learned to live without war or violence hundreds of years ago. But they had also become afraid of other species after some bad experiences with aggressive aliens. We watch other worlds from far away, Zara explained. We study them but never make contact. The Council, our leaders, think it is safer that way. What were you doing near Earth? Jake asked. I am a scientist, Zara said. I study how different species live. I was watching your world from my ship when a solar storm damaged my engines. I crashed here by accident. Jake learned that Etherians lived much longer than humans. Zara was actually 50 years old, but she looked young by her people's standards. She had been studying other worlds for 20 years, but Earth was the first planet where she had actually landed. Your planet is beautiful, she said as they walked around Jake's farm. And the life here is so diverse. I have never seen so many different creatures living together. Jake showed her his horses, cows, and chickens. Zara was fascinated by all of them. She had a natural way with animals, and they seemed to trust her immediately. When Jake treated an injured dog that a neighbor brought in, Zara watched carefully and asked many questions. You learn each animal's needs, she observed. You change your treatment for each different creature. Every animal is different, Jake said. What works for a horse might not work for a dog. Zara nodded thoughtfully. My people have forgotten this wisdom. We think all other species are the same because they are different from us. As the days passed, Jake and Zara grew closer. She helped him around the farm, and her advanced knowledge made his work easier. She could sense things about injured animals that Jake couldn't see. Together, they saved animals that Jake might have lost on his own. But Jake could see that Zara was worried about something. She often looked up at the sky with a sad expression. When he asked her about it, she finally told him the truth. My people will come looking for me, she said. When they find me, I will have to go back home, and they will never let me return to Earth. 2 weeks had passed since Zara's crash, and Jake's life had changed completely. Every morning he woke up excited to start the day because he wouldn't be alone. Zara was always ready to help with the animals, and her presence made everything better. She had learned to use Jake's medical equipment, and her alien knowledge made their work much more effective. When a horse came in with a badly infected leg, Zara suggested a treatment that combined human medicine with techniques from her world. The horse healed in half the normal time. Your people would be amazed by what we can do together, Jake said as they watched the horse walk normally again. My people fear humans too much to learn from them, Zara replied sadly. They think humans will only bring violence. Jake had taught Zara how to drive his truck, and she loved exploring the countryside with him. She was fascinated by everything on Earth, from the way clouds formed to how different plants grew in different soils. Her curiosity reminded Jake of Emma, who had also loved learning about the natural world. One evening, as they sat on Jake's porch watching the sunset, Zara told him more about her home world. Ethros has 3 suns, she said, so we never have darkness like this. I was afraid of Earth's night when I first woke up, but now I think your darkness is beautiful. It makes the stars shine brighter. Jake had never thought about darkness that way before. What else is different about your world? We live in cities that float in the sky, Zara said, and our people can live for hundreds of your years. We have no sickness or hunger, but we also have no excitement or surprise. Every day is the same. That sounds lonely, Jake said. It is lonely, Zara agreed. I have never had a friend like you before. On my world, we are polite to each other, but we don't share our feelings the way humans do. Jake felt something warm in his chest when she said this. He had been lonely for so long after Emma died. Having Zara with him made him remember what it felt like to care about someone again. I've never had a friend like you either, he said. Zara looked at him with her violet eyes. Even though I am alien? Especially because you're alien, Jake said with a smile. You see everything differently than I do. You make me think about things I never thought about before. Over the following days, their friendship grew deeper. Zara taught Jake meditation techniques that her people used. She showed him how to sense the emotions of injured animals, which made his healing work much more effective. In return, Jake taught her about human culture by sharing his favorite movies and music. Zara was amazed by human stories. Your people create imaginary worlds and characters, she said after watching a movie. Etherians only tell stories about real events. Imagination is one of the best things about being human, Jake said. It helps us dream about better futures and understand different points of view. I think I am starting to understand why you create these stories, Zara said. They help you feel less alone. One morning, Jake found Zara standing in the field where her ship had crashed. She was holding her translator device and looked worried. What's wrong? Jake asked. I'm receiving signals, Zara said. My people have found the crash site. They are coming to get me. Jake felt his heart sink. He had known this day would come, but he wasn't ready for it. How long do we have? Maybe 1 week, Zara said. They are still very far away, but their ships are fast. What will happen when they get here? Zara looked even more worried. I have been listening to their communications. The Council is not just coming to rescue me. They are angry that I crashed on Earth. They think humans might have seen my ship. So what? Jake said. Humans knowing about aliens isn't necessarily bad. My people think it is very bad, Zara said. They have decided that Earth is becoming too dangerous. Your scientists are starting to build ships that can travel to other planets. The Council is afraid that humans will spread war to other worlds. Jake felt cold despite the warm morning sun. What are they going to do? They want to set up monitoring stations around your planet, Zara said. They will block any human ships from leaving Earth. Some Council members want to do worse things. Like what? Zara was quiet for a long moment. Some want to use weather control technology to destroy your cities. They think it will set back human technology for hundreds of years. Jake stared at her in shock. They want to kill people? Not kill, Zara said quickly. But they don't understand that destroying your cities would kill many humans. They think of it like removing a dangerous animal from the forest. Jake felt angry. We're not animals. We're people with families and dreams and hopes. I know that, Zara said, but my people have never lived with humans the way I have. They don't understand that humans can be kind and peaceful. Can't you tell them? Can't you explain what you've learned here? I will try, Zara said. But I am young by Etherian standards. The Council will not listen to me easily. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what Zara had told him. The idea that aliens might destroy human cities was terrifying. But even worse was the thought that Zara would leave, and he would be alone again. He found her in the barn, sitting with an injured cat they were treating. The cat was purring in her lap. This little creature trusts me even though I am alien, Zara said. It doesn't care what I look like or where I come from. It only cares that I helped it when it was hurt. Jake sat down next to her. Animals are good judges of character. So are children, Zara said. Yesterday, when that little girl brought her puppy here, she wasn't afraid of me at all. She just wanted to help her pet get better. Humans aren't born afraid of differences, Jake said. We learn to be afraid from other people. Zara looked at him sadly. My people learned to be afraid too. We had some bad experiences with aggressive alien species long ago. Now we fear everyone. Fear makes people do terrible things, Jake said. But so does love. Love makes people do brave things to protect what they care about. What do you mean? Jake took her hand gently. I mean that I care about you, and I care about my world. If your people want to hurt Earth, I'll do whatever I can to stop them. Zara squeezed his hand. I care about you too, and I care about Earth now. This planet has become my second home. Then we'll figure this out together, Jake said. There has to be a way to make your people understand that humans aren't their enemy. Zara smiled, but Jake could see the worry in her violet eyes. They both knew that convincing an entire alien civilization would be almost impossible, but they also knew they had to try. The future of both their worlds might depend on it. Outside, the stars shone brightly in the clear night sky. Somewhere among those stars, alien ships were traveling toward Earth. Jake and Zara sat together in the barn, holding hands and watching over the injured cat. Neither of them knew what would happen when the Etherians arrived, but they knew they would face it together. The Etherian ship arrived on a clear Tuesday morning. Jake was feeding his horses when a shadow passed over the sun. He looked up to see something that took his breath away. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It was silver and smooth. shaped like a teardrop, and it made no sound as it floated down from the sky. Zara had been helping Jake in the barn when they both felt a strange vibration in the air. She grabbed her translator device and listened to the signals coming from the ship. "They're here," she said, her voice shaking. "Captain Lyra is commanding the ship. She was my teacher before I became an explorer." The ship landed gently in the same field where Zara had crashed weeks before. Jake and Zara walked out to meet whoever was coming out of the ship. Jake's heart was beating fast. He was about to meet more aliens, and these aliens might want to hurt his world. A door opened in the side of the ship, and 3 figures stepped out. They all looked like Zara, with pale blue skin and silver hair, but they were taller and seemed older. The one in front wore clothes that looked more formal than Zara's simple outfit. "Zara," the leader said in the Etherian language, "we have been so worried about you." Zara replied in her own language, but Jake couldn't understand what they were saying. The conversation went on for several minutes, and Jake could tell that it was getting heated. The 3 Etherians kept looking at him with expressions that seemed suspicious and unfriendly. Finally, Zara switched to English so Jake could understand. "Captain Lyra, this is Jake Miller. He saved my life and took care of me while I was injured." Captain Lyra looked at Jake with her cold violet eyes. "You are the human who found our scout?" "Yes," Jake said, trying to sound calm and friendly. "Zara was badly hurt when I found her. I'm a doctor for animals, so I knew how to help with her injuries." "Animals?" Captain Lyra said the word like it tasted bad. "You compared our scout to an animal?" "No," Jake said quickly. "I meant that I use medical skills to help any living creature that's hurt. It doesn't matter what species they are." Captain Lyra spoke to her companions in Etherian. Jake could tell they were talking about him, and it didn't sound good. Finally, she turned back to Jake. "Human, you will forget that you ever saw any of us. We have technology that can remove memories from primitive minds." "No," Zara stepped between them. "Captain, you don't understand. Jake is not primitive. He is kind and intelligent. He helped me without asking for anything in return." "Zara, you have been alone with this creature for too long," Captain Lyra said. "It has confused your thinking. Come back to the ship now. We must return to Ethros immediately." "Why the rush?" Zara asked. "And why did you bring a full crew for a simple rescue mission?" Captain Lyra looked uncomfortable. "The Council has made some decisions about Earth. This planet is becoming a threat to galactic peace." Jake felt cold fear wash over him. "What kind of threat?" "Human space technology is advancing too quickly," one of the other Etherians said. "Soon you will have ships that can reach other worlds. Your species is too violent to be allowed into space." "We're not all violent," Jake said. "Most humans want peace." "Your planet has had over 200 wars in the last century," Captain Lyra said. "You destroy your own environment. You let millions of your people die from hunger while others have too much food. This is not the behavior of a peaceful species." Jake couldn't argue with those facts. Humans did fight wars and make mistakes, but he knew there was more to humanity than just the bad parts. "We also help each other," Jake said. "When there are disasters, people from all over the world send help. We take care of sick children and old people. We create art and music and stories. We try to make the world better for our children." "Pretty words," Captain Lyra said. "But your actions speak louder. The Council has decided to place monitoring stations around Earth. No human ships will be allowed to leave this planet." Some Council members wanted stronger action. The 3rd Etherian added, "They wanted to use weather control to set back your technology. You should be grateful we chose the gentler option." Jake felt angry now. "You call trapping us on our own planet gentle?" "It is better than extinction," Captain Lyra said coldly. Zara had been listening to all of this with growing distress. "Captain, the Council made this decision without all the facts. I have learned things about humans that change everything." "You have been here for only a few weeks," Captain Lyra said. "What could you possibly have learned?" "I learned that humans have the same capacity for kindness that we do," Zara said. "Jake risked his own safety to help me. He didn't know what I was or where I came from. He just saw a living creature that needed help." "One example proves nothing," Captain Lyra said. "Then let me show you more examples," Zara said. She pulled out her translator device and connected it to a small screen. "Jake, show them the videos on your phone." Jake understood what Zara wanted. He pulled out his phone and started showing videos he had taken over the years. There were videos of him helping injured animals, but also videos of other people doing good things. He showed them footage of rescue workers saving people from floods, doctors treating patients for free, and volunteers feeding homeless people. These humans help each other, Zara explained as the videos played. They help creatures that cannot help them in return. They risk their lives to save strangers. Captain Lyra watched the videos with a puzzled expression. Why would they do these things? Because they believe every life has value, Zara said. Just like we used to believe before we became afraid. It could be a trick, one of the other Etherians said. They might be trying to fool us. Jake didn't know you were coming, Zara said. He took these videos long before he met me. This is how he really lives. Jake could see that Captain Lyra was thinking about what she had seen. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Even if some humans are kind, she said finally, the dangerous ones will still spread war to other worlds. Then help the kind ones, Jake said. Work with us to become better. Don't punish all of humanity for the mistakes of some humans. The Council has already decided, Captain Lyra said. Come, Zara, we must return to Ethros. Zara looked at Jake with sadness in her violet eyes. Then she looked back at Captain Lyra with determination. I request a formal hearing before the full council, Zara said. Captain Lyra was shocked. What? You know the law, Zara said. Any Etherian who has made first contact with a new species has the right to present evidence before the council makes final decisions about that species. Zara, you're too young and inexperienced to challenge the council, Captain Lyra said. But I am the only Etherian who has lived with humans, Zara replied. I am the only one who can speak for them. Jake realized what Zara was doing. She was risking her own standing with her people to try to save humanity. He knew he might never see her again, but he also knew this was humanity's only chance. Take the videos, Jake said, handing his phone to Zara. Show them everything. Show them that humans are capable of love and kindness and growth. Zara took the phone and held it carefully. I will make them understand, she said. I promise. Captain Lyra looked angry, but she couldn't deny Zara's legal right to a hearing. Very well. But the human stays here, and you will accept whatever the council decides. I understand, Zara said. She looked at Jake one last time. Without words, they both knew this might be goodbye forever. But they also knew that Zara was carrying the hopes of both their worlds with her, as she walked back to the Etherian ship. 3 months passed with no word from Zara. Jake tried to continue his normal life, but everything reminded him of her. The barn felt empty without her help. The animals seemed to miss her too. Even his neighbors noticed that he seemed sad and asked if he was feeling sick. Jake spent long nights looking up at the stars, wondering what was happening on the Etherian homeworld. He hoped that Zara was safe and that her people were listening to her. But as the weeks went by, he began to fear that he would never see her again. Then one morning, Jake was awakened by a familiar humming sound. He ran outside and saw an Etherian ship landing in his field. But this ship was different from the one that had taken Zara away. It was smaller and had symbols painted on its side that looked like they meant peace. The ship's door opened and Zara stepped out. Jake's heart jumped with joy, but he could see that she looked tired and older somehow. Behind her came Captain Lyra and 2 other Etherians that Jake had never seen before. Jake, Zara called out as she ran toward him. Jake met her halfway and they hugged tightly. For a moment, nothing else mattered except that she was back. I thought I might never see you again, Jake said. I thought so too, Zara replied. But we won. Not completely, but enough. Captain Lyra approached them with a much friendlier expression than she had worn before. Jake Miller, she said formally. I owe you an apology. Zara's testimony opened many eyes on our world. What happened? Jake asked. The council spent weeks debating, Zara explained. I showed them all your videos. I told them everything I learned about human kindness. At first, many council members didn't believe me. What changed their minds? More evidence, Captain Lyra said. We sent scout ships to observe Earth more closely. We watched human rescue workers save people from earthquakes. We saw doctors volunteer in poor countries. We observed teachers spending their own money to help students. We also watched your news broadcasts, Zara added. We saw humans arguing about how to solve problems instead of just fighting wars. We saw people protesting against violence and demanding peace. The young council members were the first to be convinced, Captain Lyra continued. They said that Etherians had once been like humans, making mistakes while trying to grow and learn. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. So what did the council decide? No monitoring stations, Zara said with a smile. No weather control. No punishment for humanity. Instead, Captain Lyra said, the Council voted to begin a careful contact program. Zara has been appointed as the first official ambassador to Earth. Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. You mean, I get to stay, Zara said happily. If you'll have me. Of course I'll have you, Jake said. But what does being an ambassador mean? We will start small, Captain Lyra explained. Zara will work with a select group of humans to establish communication and understanding between our peoples. Your government has already been contacted through secret channels. They chose people who are known for their peaceful work, Zara added. Dr. Lisa Park, a scientist who studies languages, and Commander Alex Stone, a military officer who has worked to prevent wars instead of starting them. You'll be part of the team too, Captain Lyra said to Jake. Your work with Zara proved that humans and Etherians can cooperate successfully. Over the following weeks, Jake's quiet farm became the secret center of the most important diplomatic mission in human history. Dr. Lisa Park arrived first, a cheerful woman in her 40s who was excited to learn the Etherian language. Commander Alex Stone came next, a tall man with kind eyes who immediately understood the importance of making a good impression on the aliens. The team worked together to create protocols for contact between the two species. They discussed everything from basic communication to cultural differences. Jake's barn was converted into a small but sophisticated meeting center where humans and Etherians could work together safely. The most important thing, Zara explained to the team, is that both species must approach this as equals. Humans have things to teach Etherians, just as Etherians have things to teach humans. This proved to be true very quickly. Dr. Park's linguistic research helped the Etherians improve their translation technology. Commander Stone's knowledge of human politics helped them understand how to approach Earth's governments without causing panic. But it was Jake's medical knowledge that led to the biggest breakthrough. When a young Etherian scout was injured during a training mission, both human and Etherian doctors worked together to save his life. Jake's veterinary experience combined with Etherian healing technology created treatment methods that neither species could have developed alone. This is what cooperation looks like, Zara said as they watched the young Etherian recover, not one species helping another, but both species becoming stronger together. The success of the medical collaboration convinced even the most cautious council members that the contact program should continue. More Etherian scientists began visiting Earth, always in secret and always with careful supervision. Jake found that his life had purpose again in ways he had never imagined. He was not just helping injured animals anymore. He was helping to build a bridge between two worlds. The work was sometimes difficult and always challenging, but it was also the most rewarding thing he had ever done. Most importantly, he was no longer alone. Zara had become his partner in every sense of the word. Their relationship had grown from friendship to something deeper and stronger. They understood each other in ways that transcended the differences between their species. 1 year after Zara's crash, Jake stood with her in the same field where he had first found her. The wreckage of her original ship had been cleaned up and replaced with a small monument that marked the spot where human-Etherian friendship had begun. Do you ever regret staying on Earth? Jake asked. Never, Zara said, taking his hand. Earth gave me something I never had on Ethros. What's that? A home where I belong, she said. A place where I can make a difference. Jake smiled and pulled her closer. Earth gave me something too. What? A reason to believe in the future again. They stood together watching the sunrise, knowing that they were part of something much bigger than themselves. The relationship between humans and Etherians was still fragile and new. There would be challenges and setbacks ahead. But they had proven that two very different species could learn to trust and care for each other. In the barn behind them, their medical equipment hummed quietly. They had treated dozens of creatures together, both Earth animals and Etherian visitors. Each successful healing was a small victory for cooperation and understanding. High above them, among the stars that were fading in the morning light, other Etherian ships patrolled peacefully. They were no longer watching Earth as a threat to be contained. They were watching as protectors and friends, ready to help humanity take its first steps into a larger galaxy. And it all began with one simple act of kindness in a small barn in Montana. When a lonely veterinarian decided to help an injured stranger, without asking questions about where she came from. Sometimes the smallest acts of compassion can change everything, even the fate of entire worlds.